Hey guys, John again, and we are going to do the third chapter of our basic tech series. I know it's been a little longer than I would like, but as you see in recovery, life shows up sometimes and plans change. But we're here, we're going to cover it's a small chapter, chapter three, why are we here? So we're going to read through it, and along the way, I'll comment as I always do about my personal experiences with this topic. So here we go. Chapter 3. Why are we here? Before coming to the Fellowship of NA, we could not manage our own lives. We could not live and enjoy life as other people do. We had to have something different, and we thought we had found it in drugs. We placed our use ahead of the welfare of our family, our wives, husbands, and our children. We had to do drugs. We had to have drugs at all costs. We did many people great harm, but most of all, we harmed ourselves. Through our inability to accept personal responsibilities, we were actually creating our own problems. We seemed to be incapable of facing life on its own terms. Most of us realized that in our addiction, we were slowly committing suicide. But addiction is such a cunning enemy of life that we had lost the power to do anything about it. Many of us had ended up in jail or sought help through medicine, religion, and psychiatry. None of these methods were sufficient for us. Our disease always resurfaced or continued to progress until in desperation we sought help from each other in Narcotics Anonymous. After coming to NA, we realized we were sick people. We suffered from a disease from which there is no known cure. It can, however, be arrested at some point, and recovery is then possible. If you notice, I'm reading from my actual physical copy of the basic text. The reason I do that, if you can see, it's highlighted in multiple colors from multiple times I've read through this. And I like to do that because, it reminds me of different parts of my recovery, what stuck out to me. It just helps. And looking at it, you know, some parts that stuck out to me is I couldn't enjoy life as other people had. And that was very true. Um, you know, Pre active addiction, during active addiction, I couldn't, enjoy life like normal. People who don't have our addiction issues can. But now in recovery, I can't. I find a lot of joy in life. Life is a very, very beautiful thing, and that's my one wish is that all addicts and alcoholics can discover that for themselves. And I definitely put it ahead of the welfare of my families, my kids, parents, people in relationships with friends, my employment, everything. And today, that's one of the greatest gifts is being able to make, the things that are truly important in my life, the focal point of my life. And, strengthening relationships and doing all the things necessary to build those relationships, fix those relationships, and that's where I find some of the most rewarding aspects of my life today. And being able to face life on life's terms, is something I could never do properly. Before I even picked up a drug, I don't think I could do that. Today, I'm learning every day. It's a progressive thing. Something I must do every day is work at that, just like every other part of my recovery. But it is something I am getting much better at. And the slowly committing suicide. If anybody used like me, you'll understand exactly what those words mean. But at the very end of what I just read, it says says a few words there that I say every day when I do the just for days, and that is very simply recovery is then possible. I just say recovery is possible because it absolutely isn't, and absolutely it's for me and every single one that's watching this and everybody who doesn't watch this. But if you have addiction or alcoholism, there is help available, and recovery is absolutely possible, but it takes work. We are addicts seeking recovery. We use drugs to cover our feelings and did whatever was necessary to get drugs. Many of us woke up sick, unable to make it to work, or went to work loaded. Many of us stole to support that habit. We hurt the ones we loved. We did all these things and told ourselves, I can handle it. We were looking for a way out. We couldn't face life on life's terms. In the beginning, using was fun. For us, using became a habit and finally necessary for survival. The progression of the disease was not apparent to us. We continued on the path of destruction, unaware of where it was leading us. We were addicts and did not know it. Through drugs, we tried to avoid reality, pain, and misery. When the drugs wore off, we realized that we were still had the same problems and that they were becoming worse. We sought relief by using again and again, more drugs, more often. And that's, speaks to that progression and that horrible cycle of active addiction and use. And I remember, way back when, I started using, started partying, and it was fun for a short period of time. But I also remember the time when I was sitting in my car and it clicked, it dawned on me that what I was doing was not normal. What I was doing wasn't what I was 16 or 17 at the time. And it clicked in my head that, you know, most people at my age and are not doing the things I'm doing. And that's when I really realized that I had an actual problem, that I was actual addict. It took very, very much longer than that for me to actually do anything about it. And then it took other, times after that for me to get serious enough, to get beaten enough to actually listen to what was suggested and try, NA. So we sought through help and found none. Often doctors didn't understand our dilemma. They tried to help us by giving us medication. Our husbands, wives, and loved ones gave us what they had and drained themselves in hope that we would stop using or get better. We tried substituting one drug for another, but this only prolonged our pain. We tried limiting our usage to social amounts without success. There's no such thing as a social addict. Some of us sought an answer through churches, religion, or cultism. Some sought a cure by geographic change. We blamed our surroundings and living situations for our problems. This attempt to cure our problem by moving gave us a chance to take advantage of new people. Some of us sought approval through sex or change of friends. This approval-seeking behavior carried us further into our addiction. Some of us tried marriage, divorce, or disseration. Regardless of what we tried, we could not escape from our disease. And I've, experienced all too often, my loved ones really that draining of themselves, it speaks in here. My parents and relatives and loved ones, just wanting so bad for me to get clean and sober, and they just couldn't do it for me. That's the thing. I have to want this for myself, and I have to be beaten and broken enough to the point where I hit that rock bottom they always speak of, which everybody's is different, but it's not a physical thing, or it's not, you don't have to have the same things I had to have, and I don't need the same things you have to get to that point mentally, emotionally, spiritually, where you just say enough is enough and make the decision to finally listen to the suggestions and do what you need to do. We reached the point in our lives where we felt like a lost cause. We had little worth to family, friends, or on the job. Many of us were unemployed and unemployable. Any form of success was frightening and unfamiliar. We didn't know what to do. As the feeling of self-loathing grew, we needed to use more and more to mask our feelings. We were sick and tired of pain and trouble. We were frightened and ran from fear. No matter how far we ran, we always carried fear with us. We were hopeless, useless, and lost. Failure had become a way of life, and self-esteem was non-existent. Perhaps the most painful feeling was all the desperation, isolation, and denial of our addiction kept us moving along this downhill path. Any hope of getting better disappeared. Helplessness, emptiness, and fear became the way of life. We were complete failures. Personality changes was what we really needed. Change from self-destructive patterns, and life became necessary. When we lied, cheated, or stole, we degraded ourselves in our own eyes. We had enough of self-destruction. We experienced our powerlessness. When nothing relieved our paranoia and fear, we hit bottom and became ready to ask for help. And, there was a lot in what I just read there. But the desperation, the isolation, I didn't really deny my addiction. Like I said, I realized at an early age I was an addict. Tried to hide it, but I don't know how your story goes, but I couldn't hide it very well, although I often thought I could. But the self-destructive patterns, lying, cheating, stealing, degrading myself in my own eyes, is definitely rings so true with me in my story. And fear of success, and this is something that I've had to handle in recovery. The better I do in life, there is a fear that comes with it, and it's a fear of success, but it's more fear of failure because I'm getting more success than I've ever had. And when I start experiencing that, my mind can play games with me and say, "You're going to fail. You always fail." Not that I always fail. I've learned this in recovery. It's I never really gave myself a chance to try. And now that I'm seeing what I'm capable of, and I believe that's true with most, if not all, of us addicts and alcoholics. Okay, so we'll continue on here. We were searching for an answer when we reached out and found Narcotics Anonymous. We came to our first NA meeting in defeat and didn't know what to expect. After sitting in a meeting or several meetings, we began to feel that people cared and were willing to help. Although our minds told us that we'd never make it, the people in the fellowship gave us hope by insisting that we could recover. We found that no matter what our past thoughts or actions were, others had felt and done the same. Surrounded by fellow addicts, we realized that we were not alone anymore. Recovery is what happens in our meetings. Our lives are at stake. We found that by putting recovery first, the program worked. We faced these three disturbing realizations. One, we were powerless over our addiction. Our lives were unmanageable. Two, although we were not responsible for our disease, we are responsible for our recovery. And three, we can no longer blame people, places, and things for our addiction. We must face our problems and our feelings. And yeah, all the stuff I've highlighted, I have our feelings highlighted because I learned, this is my story, but in my personal experience, I run from feelings often. I never learned how to process them properly, and that was a big thing in me staying clean, was learning to express and process my feelings, my emotions properly and healthily. Because if I can't, my recovery is in big danger. The ultimate weapon for recovery is the recovering addict. We concentrate on recovery and feelings, not what we have done in our past. Our friends, places, and ideas are often a threat to our recovery. We need to change our playmates, playgrounds, and playthings, people, places, and things. Very important. If I want to stay clean, it's going to be extremely hard if I'm still going hanging around people that are using, if I'm going to bars or if I'm going to trap houses or wherever it is. If I want to change my life, I have to change my life, plain and simple. When we realize that we're not able to manage without drugs, some of us immediately begin experiencing depression, anxiety, hostility, and resentment. Petty frustrations, minor setbacks, and loneliness often make us feel that we're not getting any better. We find that we suffer from a disease, not a moral dilemma. We are more critically ill, not hopelessly bad. Our disease can only be arrested through abstinence. It can be arrested through abstinence, meaning we stop using it. But once we do that, we have to, face all the other stuff. And when we do, the depression, the anxiety, resentment, frustration, all that stuff happens. A minor setback can seem like a huge ordeal, especially in early recovery. But that's what the steps do. And that's what's working with sponsors and sharing in meetings. It's what all of that helps with. But we have to be willing to be open and share and talk and ask for help. And more importantly, when we ask for help, take the help, use the help, take the suggestions. Today, we experience a full range of feelings. Before coming into the fellowship, we either felt elated or depressed. Our negative sense of self has been replaced by pause and concern for others. Answers are provided and problems are solved. It is a great gift to feel human again. I'm going to read that part again. It is a great gift to feel human again. And before, being in recovery, there was decades where I did not feel human at all. I was in that cycle of incarceration and active addiction for so long. It was so hard to feel human that I almost think I forgot it. What a change from the way we used to be. We know the NA program works. The program convinced us that we needed to change ourselves instead of trying to change the people and situations around us. We discovered new opportunities. We found a sense of self worth. We learned self respect. This is a program for learning. By working the steps, we come to accept the higher power's will. Acceptance leads to recovery. We lose our fear of the unknown and we are set free. And that's exactly what it's about. It's about that freedom that we're going to receive in recovery. And it's the freedom that addicts all around the world have been receiving for very long and continue to and will continue to. And that is why we do this. That's why I'm here reading. That's why I put these videos up, because hopefully, maybe it might help somebody else. At the very least, it's helping me stay clean today. And just for today, I am staying clean. I hope everybody out there does the same. Recovery is possible. Comment if you want me to cover anything or talk about something. I would love it. Everybody have a great day. We'll see you in the next video. Remember, recovery is possible, and I believe in each and every one of you guys. Thanks for watching.